Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I'll be discussing my review of an espionage thriller by Dan Wells called Ghost Station. This is a very different genre. I really haven't read much espionage thrillers before, but this is a short, fun, fast read that I really enjoyed. If you don't know, Dan Wells is an author that I'm a big fan of. I just got into him recently with his John Cleaver / I Am Not a Serial Killer trilogy, featuring I Am Not a Serial Killer, Mr. Monster, and I Don't Want to Kill You. And I got into Dan Wells' books because I heard his podcast with Brandon Sanderson. And I was a big fan of what they were talking about and the way that they discussed writing. And so I thought, I'll get into his books. And I loved the trilogy that I just discussed. And I wanted to get into more of his books. And when I met him recently, and I actually did an interview with him, which you can check out on the channel, he was promoting his book that had just released then called Ghost Station. It was an audio original back in, I think, 2019 or 2020 or something. And then they just printed it in paperback through Prince of Cats Publishing. And I decided to get it because I wanted to be supportive of Mr. Wells, and I read the book, and I absolutely loved it. I have a few quibbles with it, but overall, I really enjoyed it. So let's get into what I thought about the book. The whole book is centered around cryptography and about spies for the US and Russia. Think very much Berlin Wall is very heavily influenced. This book is set in the 60s. It's set right after the wall's gone up. It's about these the main characters is this guy from the US who works for the CIA at one of their agencies called The Cabin. And he is a cryptographer trying to decode messages from the East Germany that they're sending over to West Germany. And he is his name's Wallace Reed, and the whole book is about him getting these messages, trying to interpret them, and then trying to see what they should do about it. And, of course, as you'd expect in an espionage thriller, the U.S. is on the brink of war, and any wrong move could result in the country's opening fire and starting World War III, that type of thing. And it's so well done. You understand the stakes. The stakes are both small and big at the same time. Dan Wells balances the stakes perfectly in the writing of this book, which I really liked. It feels so atmospheric. You know, Dan Wells actually did live in Germany for a period of time, and he travels back a lot for his publicity. And reading this book, I felt immersed in German culture. He's constantly throwing in German words, German phrases, German recipes. He's talking about German plays and German history and German places. And it feels just enough that I feel fully immersed into the story, but it's not so much that I don't understand what's happening. There are times when a character will say something in German, and Dan Wells does not actually translate it for you. And it's up to you to determine, based off of the context, what they're saying, and he does it perfectly. It's just good enough for that. I'm learning German, so some of it I did know, and then some of it I didn't, but I was able to determine the context for what I didn't know because of what the situation was. It's kind of like when R2-D2 beeps, and you don't know what he's actually saying, but you do know what he's saying, that type of a thing. And I thought he did a really good job with this because of that. I also really liked the way that the book has action. The first period of the book is mostly just setup, but then the last half of the book is just pure adrenaline. Things are happening, boom, 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 really fast. And the second half of the book feels so fast-paced that you can read it in one sitting. I wouldn't suggest reading the entire book in one sitting because you'll get a little bit cross-eyed with the whole cryptography stuff. But once you get to about the halfway point, you can read the rest in one sitting because it's just so fast. It's such a good book. I really enjoyed this. I do have a problem with the ending, which I can't get into because of spoilers, but I will just say this is very much a Dan Wells ending. I would expect him to write an ending like this. I would have written a more happy, a more traditional, heroic ending. And it has a heroic ending, but it's kind of bitter. It's kind of you got it, but you lost something because of it. it's not the type of ending I would prefer. Also, Dan Wells does, one of the things I like about his books previously, the John Cleaver books, is he's dealing with incredibly heavy subjects like murder and demons and crazy stuff. But he's very appropriate. He doesn't use language. He doesn't use sexuality in those books. It's very much clean, appropriate stuff. And unfortunately, he delves into some of that language and sexuality here. There's no overt sex scenes in this, and the language is not over the top. But the language is present, and the sexual elements of it are present, and I was disappointed in Wells because I know he can do better. I know he can write clean books, and so I was very disappointed with that. He also masked some of it by writing some of his language in German, his bad language in German, and of course I caught it, and because I knew what that bad language would be, and so I was very disappointed. But if that's what my issue with the book is, that's a super minor issue because the story is great, and the action is absolutely fantastic, and the writing, just the style, the atmosphere is so good. One thing to warn you is you might have an issue with the cryptography. He goes super deep into the cryptography, and you can tell he did his research. He tried to make this as accurate as possible, as thorough as possible, despite how short it is. It's a very thorough piece, but you won't understand all that they're talking about. But you can generally follow the idea of what they're talking about pretty well, which I really liked. I also think that the main character might bother some people because he's so bland. He's not he's not a particularly likable character. He's not a particularly dislikable character. He's almost what I think gamers would call a cipher. He's kind of like Harry Potter or like Luke Skywalker. He's a good guy, but he doesn't have a crazy amount of personality because really the author, Dan Wells, he made it so that you could feel like you're in his place. You're not an expert cryptographer, but you're just a guy who's trying to survive in West Berlin, afraid that the East Germans are coming. You're just a guy who's trying to deal with his romantic relationships, those types of things. I think that Dan Wells, despite making the character not have a personality, it works because you're able to imprint yourself as the reader into the book. Another thing I'll talk about is are some deeper themes about what it means to be a spy, what it means to be patriotic and loyal to a country, what that means in terms of your past, because the people's past is very important in this, because there are Jews who work for the U.S. CIA at the time, but there are also former Nazis that work there because they need Germans to work there, and a lot of the Germans were Nazis back in the day. And there is this very difficult feeling of when do you forgive and when do you forget and when do you set aside your personal feelings about someone in order to achieve the greater good. And there's a lot of discussions about that are really handled quite well, that I really enjoyed. And there are even more deeper themes that I can't get into because of spoilers, and I know that not many people have read this. This is not a widely read book, which is really sad, because it should be, because it's such a good book. So, if you haven't already, please check out this book. I highly recommend it. I would give it 9 out of 10. A solid story. Really enjoyed it. And if you've read the book, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. If you've read anything by Dan Wells, let me know that too. Please subscribe to the channel. I have lots of book reviews, lots of various genres. I'm getting into new genres all the time. And my reviews for the other 3 Dan Wells books are also on the channel. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.